But in California, one of the people that I've been able to meet is Jerry Singer. Now, Stan and I worship on Friday nights at another Messianic congregation, the one that we were members of back in the 90s when we were in Los Angeles the first time. It's called Adat Yeshua HaAdon, which means Congregation of Jesus the Lord. And it's a small congregation of about 60 adults and lots of children. We go there every Friday night. And one Friday night after the service, we were having a nosh. That's where you sit and you schmooze, you talk, and you nosh. You eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so we were sitting and talking, and I met this lady named Jerry. We happened to sit at the same table. And it was pretty early on in the conversation that I determined that it was one of her first visits and that she was not yet a believer in Jesus. She had come with a man named Ron, who is a believer, and he had met her recently and invited her to the congregation. So I, in the course of conversation, told her what I do with Jews for Jesus and how I meet with people just like her to talk about why I believe Jesus is the Messiah. And I said, would you be interested in getting together and finding out more? And she said yes. Well, there was something that happened that night within our conversation that the Lord just really impressed upon me, that she was very open to knowing the truth about Jesus. Now, this doesn't happen every day. So I had asked her before we parted company that night if we could get together the following week and talk further, and she said yes. So we set up a date of Wednesday. This was just this past December, and before I went over to her home that afternoon, I called up my pastor and I said, Michael, I'm going to go visit Jerry. And he knew who Jerry was because she'd come out a couple times and he had met her. I said, I think she's going to pray to receive the Lord today. Would you pray that she does? And he's like, oh, yes, of course, I'll pray for that. And so Michael prayed and that indeed she would make the decision that day. I went over to her home, sat down, and got to know her a little bit, and opened up the Bible and asked her if I could share some passages with her. I shared some things from Isaiah, and I told her about God's plan for her life from Jeremiah 29, and I asked her at the end of the conversation, after we had looked at a number of scriptures, Jerry, is there any good reason why you can't accept Jesus now? And she said, no, I don't think there is. So I went over a couple things again to make sure she really understood, and she prayed that day to receive Jesus as her Messiah. Jerry is living in a board and care because she's had a number of serious medical issues. And so if you would remember to pray for Jerry Singer, I'd really appreciate it. She's growing in faith, and her and Ron are starting premarital counseling with Pastor Michael Brown.